Hello, children. Today we are going to conclude the story Rattrap. We have done part 1 and part 2 of the story. In part 1, I had discussed the theme, summary, word meanings, central idea of the story, and also about the author, Selma Lagerlof. Here in second part, I discussed the most important events of the story. And third part is the continuation of part 2, that is the concluding part of the story. The important events of the story in part 3. In part 2, we concluded that Ironmaster comes to his forge, sees the peddler, mistakes him for the old acquaintance, Niels Olof, invites him home, but the peddler refuses. Then here we'll start that how he sends his daughter Edla Wilmanson to invite the peddler. Edla comes to Forge. It was not more than half an hour that a new guest came in. Ironmaster had sent his daughter Edla, apparently hoping that she would have better powers of persuasion, better powers of persuading, insisting. She was not at all pretty, but seemed modest, kind, gentle, and quite shy. The young girl went up to the stranger and lifted his hat. He jumped up abruptly, suddenly, and seemed to be quite frightened. She introduced herself as Edla Wilmanson and was sorry to hear about the hard times that he was facing. She explained to him that she had come to take him home with her father's permission. Apparently, evidently, persuasion, influence, modest, humble, abruptly, suddenly. Edla's invitation to the peddler. After introducing herself, Edla invites the peddler and gives him confidence that he should be allowed to go whenever he wished. She looked at him compassionately with her heavy eyes and then assured him that he was free to leave their house at any time, but she wanted him to stay with the family just for Christmas Eve. She said this in such a friendly manner that the Rattrap peddler felt confidence in her. She talked in such a nice way that made him believe her, and he got ready to go with her. Compassionately means sympathetically, kindly. And when Edla invites the peddler, peddler accepts the invitation. But Edla had certain doubts about the peddler. She noticed that the man was afraid. Either he has stolen something or else he has escaped from jail. She thought it was clear that things have gone downhill with him as badly as that. But she did not think there was anything about him to show that he had once been an educated man. So it was very, very surprising to Edla that she could understand that, okay, things might have deteriorated with the peddler, but how can he look uneducated? Edla was a very good judge, better than a father. The father mistake him. The father mistakes him for Niels Olof, but in one glance, Edla realizes that there was something wrong. He was not the man as he looked. And when she told this to her father at home, the father clarified that it was due to his bad condition. He also added that the man would behave differently after getting clean and dressed up. Queer means astonishing, surprising. Downhill means downwards, worsened, deteriorated. His condition had deteriorated, but Edla still had doubts. And the peddler accepts Edla's invitation. While he was riding up to the manor house, he had evil forebodings. On the way to the house, the peddler felt that as he had committed a crime, he would be punished for it. He started cursing himself that if he had not stolen the money, he would not have had got trapped like this. The money was a bait which he had led him into the trap. Manor house is a farmhouse, a mansion in some a countryside. Forebodings means evil feelings, wrong intuitions. He knew that he was a thief and he was throwing himself voluntarily into lion's den. He might be caught in the broad daylight. So Peddler was brought home. Ironmaster's planning for the vagabond. Ironmaster sympathized with his friend. He considered him his regimental comrade. So he had different plans for his friend. The next day was Christmas Eve. Eve means a previous day of the Christmas, an evening previous to any festival. Both the ironmaster and his daughter were at the dining table. The ironmaster thought with satisfaction of his old regimental comrade, whom he had run so unexpectedly. He had met his regimental comrade. Regimental comrade means friend from army background, because ironmaster also worked as an army man. And Niels Olof, whom the peddler was mistaken for, also was from army background. He thought, though he was not, but the ironmaster thought. And he has met him very unexpectedly. So he thought, he said to his daughter, he believed that they had to do something good for the peddler and should try to find some better job for him. So they thought that they all must see to it that he gets a little flesh on his bones. Means he should gain good health first. But in the morning, the ironmaster realizes his mistake. Next morning, the vagabond was clean and well dressed. After his haircut and shaving, he was dressed in a good looking suit of clothes which belonged to the ironmaster and whole shoes. Although his guest was now so well groomed, the ironmaster did not seem pleased. Ironmaster was not at all happy to see his guest, though he was happy at night when he has seen him in dark. But now in the morning daylight, he looked at him with a puckered brow. It was easy to understand that when he had seen the strange fellow in the uncertain reflection from the furnace, he might have made a mistake. But that now, when he stood there in broad daylight, it was impossible to mistake him for an old acquaintance. He was simply a vagabond, a beggar, a wanderer. He was not Niels Olof. Though he was groomed, he was made tidy, he bathed, but he was not his acquaintance. He was not his friend or associate. Now the peddler's real identity was disclosed. Now he could not hide his identity anymore. What does this mean? He thundered, spoke very loudly. The stranger made no attempts to dissimulate. He saw at once that the splendor had come to an end. The peddler tried to explain that he should not be blamed as he had not harmed anyone and was ready to wear his rags again. To this, the ironmaster hesitated and said that the peddler had not been quite honest and so he wanted to call the sheriff. The peddler did not try to dissimulate, means he did not try to now conceal his appearance. He did not try to be false anymore because he knew that he has been caught and his splendor, his majesty and magnificence has come to an end. And sheriff means police here, some official authority. And peddler the ironmaster threatened him that he will call sheriff. But hearing this, the peddler spoke something in his defense. So what did peddler speak? The peddler's defense on ironmaster's threatening. The Rattrap seller gets so enraged. Enraged means Angry, furious, the Rattrap seller gets so enraged upon hearing about the sheriff that he struck the table with his fist and said that this world is a rat trap and all the good things are a bait. What is a bait? We have discussed earlier, something to lure, to attract others. He also pointed out to the ironmaster that he may today be imprisoned by the sheriff, but one day the ironmaster will also get trapped like this because it is human nature. Anybody can get trapped. The ironmaster began to laugh, as that was not so badly said, but ordered him to get out of there as fast as he could. So the previous day he had invited, and next day he was throwing him out of the house. To this, Edla interceded for the vagabond. Interceded means interfered. She did not like her father's idea of throwing him out of the house. The daughter stood there quite embarrassed, uncomfortable, very conscious because the previous evening they had invited the peddler and now he was supposed to go out. So the daughter stood there quite embarrassed and hardly knew what to answer. She had interceded for the vagabond. Interceded means intervene, mediated. For the vagabond, as since morning, she was planning how she could make the peddler's day happy on the occasion of Christmas. She wanted him to enjoy a day, but she also thought they ought not chase away a human being whom they had invited and to whom they had promised Christmas cheer. So sending the peddler out of the house, somehow Edla did not like this. So even knowing his identity, even knowing the truth, she entertains the peddler. The young girl said, he walks and walks the whole year long, and there is probably not a single place in the whole country where he is welcome and can feel at home. Wherever he turns, he is chased away. Always he is afraid of being arrested and cross-examined. I should like to have him enjoy a day of peace with us here, just one in the whole year. So she did not let the man go. To this, the ironmaster mumbled something in his beard. Mumbling something in his beard means talking in whisper, which one himself could hear. He could not bring himself to oppose her. He also warned her that hopefully her decision would not bring any adverse effect on him. And that peddler was allowed to stay and spend time with the ironmaster's family. The peddler was doubtful about Edla's intentions and was wondering why she stopped him. The peddler also could not understand what made Edla stop him. But the stranger did not cause any trouble because he did not do anything but sleep. At noon, they woke him up so that he could have his share of good Christmas fare. But after that, he slept again. It seemed as though for many years he had not been able to sleep quietly and safely. After the dinner, the peddler thanked everyone. Edla invited him for the Christmas next year also. Edla said that if he wanted to spend Christmas next year, the same in a peaceful manner, he was most welcome. The man with the rat traps did not answer anything to this. He only stared at the young girl in boundless amazement. Boundless means unendless, unlimited, because he was unable to understand what was making Edla fight for him. And amazement means astonished. He was surprised at Edla's behavior. Now, Edla's disappointment in the church. So, the peddler spent time with the family. Next day was Christmas, and both father and daughter went to church that day. Next morning, the ironmaster and his daughter went to church for the early Christmas service. At church, She learned that one of the old crofters of the ironworks had been robbed by a man who went around selling rat traps. This made Edler feel very sad. Both father and daughter realized that he was the same man whom they had over as a guest. The father was suspicious, and the young girl sat and hung her head even more dejectedly than usual. So why Edler was dejected, sad, miserable? Because the peddler whom they had given so much of respect as a guest, he was not Niels Olof, rather he was a thief. And the ironmaster suspected he must have stolen from home. So when they reached home, the moment they reached home, the ironmaster inquired about the vagabond from his valet. Inquiry about the vagabond on reaching home. The wagon had hardly stopped their carriage the moment they reached home. At the front steps, when the ironmaster asked the valet whether the stranger was still there, he was suspicious that being a thief, what he must have stolen. The valet answered that the fellow had gone and that he had not taken anything with him at all. On the contrary, he had left behind a little package which Miss Wilmanson was to be kind enough to accept as a Christmas present. So instead of taking something, he had left some gift for Edler. Wagonman's carriage, valet mills, male servant, and contrary, opposing, reverse. So instead of taking, what had he done? Left the Christmas gift. So what was this Christmas present left by the peddler? The young girl opened the package, which was so badly done. Means it was covered in a very rough manner, that the contents came into view at once. She gave a little cry of joy. She found a small rat trap, and in it lay 3 wrinkled 10 kroner notes. So which was this money? 3 wrinkled 10 kroner notes, which the peddler had stolen from the crofter. But that was not all. In the rat trap lay also a letter written in large jagged characters. Jagged means uneven, very rough, because Edler has already realized that man was not educated. And the letter was signed by Captain Vonstale. So when he was not a captain, he was a vagabond. Why did he sign the letter as Captain Vonstale? The letter read, "Honored and noble miss, since you have been so nice to me all day long, as if I was a captain, I'd want to be nice to you in return, as if I was a real captain. For I do not want you to be embarrassed at this Christmas season by a thief, but you can give back the money to the old man on the roadside, who has the money pouch hanging on the window frame as a bait for poor wanderers. The rat trap is a Christmas present from a rat who would have been caught in the world's rat trap if he had not been raised to the captain. Because in that way, he got power to clear himself. Written with friendship and high regard, Captain Vonstale." So he had signed himself as a captain because he was treated, respected, and honored as a captain throughout by Edler. And this respect, friendship, trust, and kindness helped the peddler finally change his ways and made him free from the rat trap. The meeting with Edda was a turning point in Peddler's life. Edla Wilmanson's kindness reformed the peddler. Her compassion and generosity killed the thief in him. To sum up, we can change the world through kindness and compassion. In addition, the story teaches us that materialistic things never bring inner joy. Only love and respect does. So here we conclude the chapter. We come to an end. Thank you, children. Have a